What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you're enjoying your day so far. People always associate anger as a negative feeling. How many times have you told yourself, anger is bad, I shouldn't get angry? We all know what anger is, and we've all felt it. I'm sure you know at least one person who has a hot temper. Well, I was that person growing up. Living in an Asian household, some of you might be able to relate to what I'm going to tell you. I remember when I was a kid, whenever I didn't finish my bowl of rice during dinner time, my mom would get so mad at me and would force me to finish it, even though if I expressed to her how full I was, to the point it felt like my stomach was going to explode if I had to take another bite. Well, obviously, I had to suck it up and finish eating to please her and avoid getting yelled at even more. But inside, I was furious at my mom, and I hated the fact that she didn't care about how I felt. I would finish eating as fast as I could, storm off from the dining table, and hurry to my room and slam the door. Then I would tell myself not to get angry because I shouldn't feel this way. But no surprise, I got even more mad at myself and my mom. That's pretty much how I expressed my anger most of the time when I was a kid. Slamming the door when I was angry and bottling everything inside to avoid confrontations. To be honest, it wasn't until later in college that I learned effective communication skills and healthier coping mechanisms to help me deal with difficult situations. Some people might think that anger isn't something that they can control, and they simply can't help it. I definitely felt that way when I was a kid. What I've learned is, we can't always control the situation we're in or how it makes us feel, but we can control how we express our anger. According to Dr. Charles Spielberger, a psychologist who specializes in the study of anger, anger is an emotional state that varies in intensity from mild irritation to intense fury and rage. Just like any other emotion that we feel, anger is accompanied by physiological and biological changes. When you get angry, your heart rate and pressure go up, as do the levels of your energy hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline. Anger can be caused by internal and external events. You could be angry at a specific person, like your mom, a friend, or your boss, or an event, like being stuck in traffic or losing in a board game. Or your anger could be caused by worrying or brooding about your personal problems. Whatever it may be, anger is a completely normal and healthy human emotion. But when your anger gets out of control and it becomes destructive, it could lead to problems if you don't know how to handle it, like issues in your personal relationships and at work, and how you feel mentally and physically. Because anger is such a powerful emotion and one that makes a lot of people very uncomfortable to be in, it can make you feel as though your anger is taking control of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So how can we control our anger and learn to express it better? I have some anger management tips for you. But before I tell you what they are, don't think that anger management means learning how to suppress your anger. That's not what anger management is. In fact, it's to help you understand the message behind feeling angry and being able to express it in a healthy way without losing control. Tip number 1, think about what's really behind your anger. Sometimes small arguments can turn into big fights. For example, both partners having different opinions on where they want to eat for lunch. Well, there's usually a bigger issue behind the big fight you're having. If you find your irritation and anger rapidly rising, ask yourself, what am I really angry about? Identifying the real source of frustration will help you communicate your anger better, take constructive action, and work towards a resolution. Oftentimes, anger masks other feelings such as embarrassment, insecurity, hurt, or shame. It's likely that your temper is actually covering up your true feelings, especially if you grew up in a family where you weren't taught to express your feelings. I know that sometimes I get angry when a friend bails on me, but when I ask myself why I'm feeling so angry, it's because I'm feeling hurt and I'm disappointed that my friend keeps bailing on me. I felt like I wasn't valued as a friend. Anger can also mask anxiety. When you perceive a threat, either real or imagined, your body activates the fight or flight response. In the case of the fight response, it can often manifest itself into anger or aggression. To change your response, you need to find out what's really causing you to feel anxious or scared. Additionally, anger problems can stem from what you learned as a child. If you watch others in your family scream, hit each other, or throw things, you might think that this is how you're supposed to express anger. Tip number 2, identify your triggers. Understanding what triggers you to be angry can help you take control of your environment and avoid unnecessary aggravation. Look at your regular routine and try to identify activities, times of day, people, places or situations that cause you to be irritable or angry. Maybe you get angry during the traffic going back home from work. Maybe you get hangry. Once you identify your triggers, think of ways to either avoid them or view the situations differently so they don't make your blood boil. You obviously can't avoid sitting in traffic, but what you can do is when you're in the car, you can listen to your favorite music or a podcast that interests you. And you can avoid being hangry by prioritizing your meal times. You may think that external factors, like the insensitive actions of other people, or frustrating situations are causing your anger. Believe it or not, anger problems have less to do with what happens to you than how you interpret and think about what happened. When you pinpoint the thought patterns that fuel your anger, you can learn to reframe how you think about things. Just like the automatic thought record that I introduced to you guys in the CBT video, ask yourself, what's the evidence that the thought is true? That it's not true? Is there a more positive, realistic way of looking at this situation? Doing so can allow you to understand how certain events affect how you feel. Tip number 3. This one's a short one. Pay attention to your anger warning signs. Think back to the last time that something or someone made you really angry. Now, how do you feel physically? A lot of people might think that they get angry without any sorts of warnings. But when you really pay attention to how your body feels, there are in fact physical warning signs. Some people's faces get really red. Their hands are clenched, their heart rates increase significantly, their heart's pounding, or their shoulders become very tense. Becoming aware of your own personal signs that your temper is starting to boil allows you to take steps to manage your anger before it gets out of control. Tip number 4. Create a list of things you can do to cool down quickly. Now that you know what your warning signs are, you can act quickly to deal with your anger before it gets to the point where it's uncontrollable. I'll share some techniques with you that have worked for me to help me cool down and keep my anger in check. The first one is taking deep breaths. I cannot emphasize this enough. Practicing mindfulness and breathing exercises can really help us minimize our stress, anxiety, and anger. Deep, slow breathing also helps us regulate our emotions and counteract rising tension. Another one that goes well with taking deep breaths is slowly counting to 10. You can do this counting exercise along with taking a slow, deep breath on each count. Let's do one together. 1, 2, 3. Focus on the counting to let your rational mind catch up with your feelings. Repeat again if you still feel really angry by the time you reach 10. The third technique is do some stretching or massage the areas that you feel a lot of tension. Maybe do some yoga or some guided meditation to ease your anger. The last technique that you can use is go for a walk or exercise. Physical activity can release pent-up energy, so you can come back to the situation with a clearer mindset. I do Muay Thai regularly, and I definitely find it very effective in helping me release stress. And it's a really healthy way to let out your anger as well. Tip number 5. Discover healthier ways to express your anger. It's natural for us to want to have a solution for every single problem we encounter, and we get frustrated when we're not able to find a solution. In that case, focus on how you handle and face the problem instead of worrying about finding the solution. If you can approach a situation with your best intentions and efforts and make it a serious attempt to face it head on, you'll be less likely to lose patience and fall into an all or nothing thinking, even if the problem does not get solved right away. For example, if you're fighting with a sibling or your partner, it's normal that we want them to hear how we feel. But after we express our own needs, hear them out and respect them and their viewpoint. Winning the argument shouldn't be your priority. I also find that when I'm in the heat of arguing, it's easy to start throwing what happened in the past into the mix, like, you did this that one time. I know that we can become defensive when we get into arguments, but rather than looking to the past and assigning blame, focus on what you can do in the present to solve the conflict. There's no need to bring up the past into the conversation that's happening now. It's also okay to walk away from the situation if it becomes too much for you to handle, like when you notice your anger starts to spiral out of control. Give yourself as much time as you need to cool down, and then when you're ready, approach the situation with a clearer mindset. If a conflict is going nowhere, you can choose to disengage and move on. Arguing back and forth about the same point won't get you anywhere, and it takes two people to keep an argument going. So if you simply can't come to an agreement with the other person, know that you have an option to let it go. Sometimes I also find that using humor can relieve tension in arguments. When things get a little tense, humor can help you lighten the mood, smooth over differences, and keep things in perspective. So next time you feel yourself getting angry in a situation, try using a little humor. It can allow you to get your point across without getting the other person's defenses up or hurting their feelings. Those are 5 tips that I have to help you better manage your anger. Mastering the art of anger management takes work, but the more you practice, I promise the easier it'll get. Learning to control your anger and express it appropriately will help you get your needs met, manage conflicts better, and build stronger relationships. Remember this, even if someone is pushing your buttons, which will happen quite a bit, you always have a choice about how to respond. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and hit that like button if you found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to watch my next video. Bye everyone.